They didn't call it freedom when I walked out. They called it recovery protocol. There were forms, fluorescent lights, a woman with kind eyes asking the same questions in slightly different ways. 9 years of captivity distilled into timestamps and yes or no boxes. I answered carefully, not because I was afraid, because I understood finally that words move systems. Freedom felt administrative before it felt real. They kept telling me I was safe. I nodded. Safety was a technical term now. It wasn't the basement that followed me. It was the quiet. The wait-time had been stripped of seasons. I had survived by shrinking into something functional. A body that complied. A mind that cataloged. When they handed me my phone, I stared at it for a long time. There were only 2 numbers I still knew by memory. I didn't call the first one. I texted my mother, "I'm home." It took less than 3 minutes. "You're just a mistake of my past. I want to forget." I read it twice, not to make sure it was real, to understand the tone. It wasn't angry. It wasn't hysterical. It was efficient, like deleting a file. For a moment, I felt something close to relief. At least she was consistent. Before I was taken, I had already been an inconvenience, a reminder of a marriage she wished she hadn't stayed in, a child born at the wrong time from the wrong man. Captivity hadn't created that distance. It had just paused it. I typed back slowly. "Consider it your last wish. I didn't mean harm. I meant closure." Then my phone started vibrating. At first, I assumed it was her, but the names were unfamiliar. A number marked unknown, federal, another from the victim advocacy unit, then my assigned agent. "Where are you?" he asked when I picked up. "At the hotel." "Stay there." His voice had shifted, not alarmed, but activated. What I hadn't known, what they hadn't told me during intake, was that my escape had unlocked more than a rescue. My captor had been under quiet federal investigation for years. Financial anomalies, land purchases under aliases, a pattern of missing persons connected by geography. My testimony gave them something concrete: dates, transfers, names I overheard during phone calls when he thought I was asleep, including one. My mother's. I hadn't recognized it at first. It was just a surname repeated in arguments about money. Old debts. "You still owe me," he once said to someone on speaker. I kept my end. Agents had been tracing transactions for months. When my statement confirmed the timeline, sealed warrants were signed before dawn. The next morning, from behind the tinted glass of a government sedan, I watched them approach my childhood house. There was no dramatic entry, just badges, paperwork, calm insistence. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. My mother opened the door in a robe, confused, irritated, then pale. They didn't handcuff her immediately. They asked questions first. About transfers made 9 years ago. About a debt that disappeared overnight. About why she had never reported her teenage child missing when the police had asked. I thought they ran away, she had told them back then. But she hadn't filed a report. She hadn't searched. She hadn't called hospitals. The external shift was quiet, but absolute. Control left the living room and entered the federal system. My phone rang again. Her name this time. I let it ring. A voicemail came seconds later. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. "I didn't know it would be like that," she said. I thought he was just taking you away for a while." "I didn't think." She didn't finish. For 9 years, I had imagined confronting her, screaming, asking why I wasn't worth looking for. Now I realized something steadier. I had never been a mistake. I had been leverage, an exchange, a debt settled. The FBI didn't arrive in horror. They arrived in order, in documentation, in undeniable presence. By evening, her name was on a formal complaint, accessory after the fact. Financial conspiracy, failure to report. I didn't feel victorious. I felt accurate. Weeks later, during another interview, an agent asked if I wanted to see her. I shook my head. Reclaiming my identity didn't require eye contact. It required boundaries. I changed my last name before the trial, not out of spite, out of alignment. The old one felt like paperwork tied to someone else's decisions. The day her arraignment appeared on the news, my phone buzzed again with reporters, distant relatives, Strangers who suddenly remembered I existed. I turned it off. For 9 years, silence had been forced on me. Now it was chosen. She had said she wanted to forget. I granted her that, just not in the way she expected.